taller than me.
Why do I always look taller than you? That's weird. I need to brush my
Poofy hair.
That's inappropriate. I said don't be inappropriate.
I just waved my hands like that.
You're not coming off as the most butch person here, are you? I don't know how to start it.
Hello and welcome to the Little Drops of Wonderful question and answer session featuring her and me.
Yeah, maybe that'll do. Welcome to Little Drops of Wonderful. This is a bit of an unusual episode because usually it's either a podcast where I sit and talk about knitting or it's a vlog where I'm wandering around just talking about knitting. But this is slightly different because lots of people had questions and things that had come up during Vlogtober. So I started writing them down and then we thought it might be good because a lot of the questions were around you. For some reason people are interested in him. And by the way, I'm not taller than Dan. He's quite a bit taller than me, but for some reason when we sit down I look taller.
Like I said, you've got a longer body than me.
I must, or better posture. Yeah.
Both.
Anyway, so this is going to be a question and answer video, which feels strangely awkward. Especially when you're sitting like that.
I'm sitting up straight for a change.
So I've just written down all of the questions that we had and we're going to go through them and it should be quite fun and we're just going to answer them.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one, I don't think I'll say people's names.
No.
Or should I just say first names? I'll say first names. Okay, so the first question was from Kerry and actually somebody else asked this as well. So it was, I'd love to know more about how you chose the girls' names. I've never heard the name Lillia before and it's lovely, as is the name Phoebe. And where did you point? Jeanette asked the same question as well. I think that was everyone that asked about the girls' names. And we must say as well, today's Saturday afternoon, which is how we're managing to film this because we wanted to do it earlier. But then everybody, both the girls were sent home from school because they both had COVID cases in their years. So we're never alone.
No.
Ever.
No. It's been almost 15 years since we were alone.
So we've snuck up here because they do drama school on a Saturday, which at the moment is via Zoom. So Phoebe's actually doing her drama school downstairs. So you might hear thumping about and shouting. And Lillia's upstairs in her room tidying, hopefully. So anyway, the question. So how did we choose the girls' names?
Well, Lillia, we originally thought something like a family name on your side, didn't we? And we thought Lilius, who's your mum's sister.
Yeah, so there's a family name that runs through my mum's side, which is Lilius. It's a Scottish name. But the problem is everyone called Lilius that we've ever met, or I ever met in my lifetime, didn't like it.
Well, and Lillia said if we called Lillia Lilius, she'd disown us.
Yes, that my mum's sister's called Lilius. So, but we were quite set on it, and then we thought, well, if we took the S off, it would be maybe a bit more modern sounding, and it would become Lillia. Before we realised that was actually a name, a real name. So that's why she's Lillia, because it's a family name that we kind of modernised. And then there was a dancer, wasn't there, on Strictly?
Yes.
Called Lillia with one L.
Yeah.
Lilia's name is spelt with two L's. And I think she was Russian.
I think she also had a Y in it. No, she was Polish.
I was Polish.
She was married to Darren.
Okay. Why? How do you remember these things?
Because I like Strictly, I remember these things. Lillia Popolova.
Yeah, but you don't just remember stuff like that. You remember other stuff, like about boy bands and other tragic things, don't you?
No one asked about that.
So that's how we chose Lilia's name. And then you chose Phoebe's name. And would you like to tell everyone why and how?
I used to be slightly obsessed with the programme Charmed, and Phoebe was my favourite character in it. And I like the name Phoebe, therefore when I got to choose Phoebe's name, I chose Phoebe.
You're not coming off as the most butch person here, are you?
I'm in touch with my feminine side. I live in a house full of females. I work in an industry where it's mainly female. I have to be in touch with my feminine side. I can be butch when I need to be.
No, he can't. Yeah, so that's it. Dan chose, I basically chose Lilia's name, so Dan had first refusal on Phoebe's name, and it was, the inspiration came from Phoebe from the show Charmed. But we both loved it, and we both loved that name. It was going to be Phoebe or
Esme.
Esme, yeah.
Which is Nanny Ogg's name from the
from Terry Pratchett.
Discworld novels.
Yeah, so, but we went, I don't know why, I think when she arrived, we just looked at her.
Oh, not Nanny Ogg, Granny Weatherwax.
Granny Weatherwax. But when we looked at Phoebe when she arrived, we were just like, yeah, no, that's Phoebe. We knew
She does
straight
like
away.
Phoebe.
Yeah. But Lillia was Lillia before she was born. Right, next question. How tall are you and Dan? Well, despite appearances, I'm 5'5" and Dan is
5'10".
5'10". He's 5 inches taller than me, even though I look taller than you.
You have a better posture and a longer body, so leave it at that.
I have short legs though. I get that from my dad. Yeah, I've got the Ingalls short legs. And that was from Pearl, that question. And then our Minty asked, our Minty's the one that gave us the instructions for the strawberry DNA experiment.
Ah, I see.
We did it on a vlog over on This Little Wonderful Life, and I will link that somewhere on the screen. With you and Dan both having ulcerative colitis, do the girls have a higher risk of it? Didn't someone else ask that as well?
I don't think so.
Oh no, but somebody else did ask. Okay, so our Minty asked that, and then I dropped the question. Somebody else asked, Patty and Hanny both asked about my J pouch, because I quite often mention that I'm a J pouch, and they've said if it's not too personal. Is it because of a lifelong condition, and how does it affect your life now? So it all ties in, doesn't it?
Yes.
So when Dan and I met, I had ulcerative colitis, and I'd had it since I was 19 years old. We'd known each other at university, haven't we? But when we got together, we were in our mid-20s. And I remember telling you, sort of saying, I've got this condition and it's, you know, really debilitating, and thinking that you were going to go, that's not very glamorous.
A chance to escape, and I didn't take it.
Yeah, and you didn't take it. So and then we went through all of that, and then we've been married. I was hospitalised quite a few times in my 20s, and not long after we were married, I went into hospital for quite a long time. And then when were you? It was a couple of years after that, I think. Lillia
It's when we bought our last house, and we were in the process of doing it up. Yeah. No, we'd moved in, so Lillia was about 2.
Lillia was 2.
So 12 years ago, so I was 32 when I was diagnosed.
Yeah, so he started getting symptoms, when Lillia was 2 years old, which was a few years after we were married. And I'd been really, really unwell over the years by this point, and was taking a lot of steroids to try and control it. And then Dan got ill, and it turned out that he has ulcerative colitis as well, because he stole my thunder.
I was jealous. I was so jealous. I became ill as well.
You became ill as well, just to get the better of me. So yeah, really weirdly, although mine was called pan ulcerative colitis, which means it affected my whole large intestine, and yours was partial. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I was about a 3, and Ali was 12.
Yeah, that was it. But it was still, even on a 3, it's really, really debilitating illness to have. So then we both had to live with it for a while, and potty training Lillia at the same time. That was interesting, with one toilet in the house. If you don't know, ulcerative colitis is where your own immune system attacks your bowel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an autoimmune disease, which it makes it very, very painful, very, very hard to live with. You become slightly obsessed with being near to a toilet. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
And also, unless you have surgery, it's not curable.
No, you can't cure it, but it goes through cycles of remission and relapse. So at the moment, Dan, you've been in remission for many years.
I've been in remission for almost 12 years. 12 years,
with the odd tiny blip, I'd say. And I had an operation in 2012 to remove my entire large intestine, which wasn't fun, as you can imagine, but it did the trick. So, and it did the trick quite quickly. I had the operation at the end of August. I was ice skating in November.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely changed your quality of life, didn't it?
I take no medication now. I can eat anything I like, drink anything I like. The only thing that it affects it is pineapple, but not to the extent where I wouldn't eat pineapple. That's how bad it is. And I am just a normal, healthy person now, and I never have to worry about it. And the J pouch is what was formed when they took the bowel out. And what they do is they form an internal... Oh, my voice went funny then. An internal pouch out of the end of your small intestine.
It replaces the colon.
Which replaces the colon. So that's what it does. But whilst that's all healing, you have to have an ileostomy and a colostomy bag. So I had that for about, 8 weeks?
8 weeks. It was awful.
It was awful because my the stoma I had was recessed. So it just used to burn my skin day and night. That was the worst part of it.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to describe it is basically the surgeon replumbed Ali and took her insides out, cut it apart, stuck it back together.
Took a bit out.
Alex works, twisted it around a bit.
Yeah, but honestly, it's the best thing, and I still get messages to this day from people who've caught on to it from the podcast or from my vlogs, who are going through it, or their husband's going through it, or their girlfriend's going through it, or wives, or someone in their family or close to them. So I still talk about it a lot. So if anybody is wondering, please do ask. It's never too personal, is it? It's bowels. It is something
No, I was at my previous job. We had a disability awareness day, and I sat in front of the entire organisation and talked about my invisible illness. Because to look at this, you wouldn't know.
Well, I'm not ill anymore.
Well, there was about 1,000 people involved in that call, so yeah, I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, so definitely do talk about it. I remember when I was having my operation, I was just so hungry for information, and there wasn't very much out there at the time. So I'm going to do a more in-depth video about it. But the risk of the girls having it, because we both got it, it makes no difference really. Maybe
marginally more, but not really. It's not a hereditary disease.
You have to be genetically predisposed to having it, but they can't quite work out what the environmental factors are that kick it off.
Mine was you. I caught it by osmosis.
Yes, that was it. No, jealousy. But no, the girls shouldn't be at any higher risk of it. And I spoke to my consultant about it fairly recently, and he still maintains that it shouldn't be too much of a problem for them. Fingers crossed. But if it is, we're an example that you can survive it and live with it and come out all right on the other end.
Yeah, it's never stopped us doing anything.
No.
I've ran, I've played football, we've been on holidays, we've flown, we've done all sorts of things. It's never stopped us.
No.
Slowed us down a bit, but that's never stopped us.
No, that's very true. Go on, we're whittering on now, aren't we? We're only on question 3. Got those. So Grace said, oh no, hang on, that's a knitting.
This is question 4. It can't count.
No, I mean as in we've just completed question.
You said we're on question.
Okay. So Grace asked a knitting question. Have you ever heard of the braided join when joining the end of the thread with the new thread? No, I haven't.
So I can answer this one. No.
I haven't. She says it beats the Russian join hands down. You won't know what that is either, but I'm going to go and look it up because I don't like the Russian join. The Russian join, is it also called the magic knot?
You're asking the wrong person.
I'm not asking you,
I'm
asking them. Yeah, thank you, Grace. I'll go and look that up. So Ruth asked, you mentioned that you met Dan again, having left university. What degree did you do? I thought it was going to be a question about you. It's about me again. So we both went to East London University, where I did a degree and Dan didn't.
That's because I was a stupid teenager. I was immature and ridiculous and more interested in going out and having fun, so I didn't finish my degree. No. In fact, I was politely asked to stop doing it.
But what were you studying?
Engineering and product design. My goodness, that was boring. Probably factored into my... No, it really was. I wanted to do drawing and design and all this fancy creative stuff, and I spent most of my time working out the mathematic structural integrity of steel and joints. Oh God, it's so boring.
You like that stuff now?
No, I don't.
You do.
I like maths, but I don't like that.
It's a shame that you
Anyway, I'm making up for it now, and I'm studying other things at the minute.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say you were more interested in girls and football when you were
beer
and
pizza, and chicken
when you were at university.
Yes.
And actually, when I met you, you were my best friend's boyfriend.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, and I remember thinking she could do so much better because you were an idiot.
I was. Yeah. I'm less of an idiot now.
You're less of an idiot.
And she was actually one of our bridesmaids.
She was one of our bridesmaids. So Dan and I actually met again at St James's Park Tube Station about 3 or 4 years after we graduated. So we were sort of 24, 25 by that point. And we went for lunch or a drink or something, I can't remember. Yeah. And just became friends, and that's how we ended up getting together.
We did.
Many years later.
I got your email off a friend of mine, and after I recognised you walking up the stairs, and you were in front of me. So
you did, yeah, and he emailed me at work and said, "Are you wearing?" And then he listed everything I was wearing.
I can remember it now. A light blue hoodie, a light blue fleece, leggings
Yeah.
that
I love that
trousers that looked like denims but weren't. They were actually leggings, and they were white and blue trainers.
Yeah, I used to love those trousers. They used to have a little. It was this was the 90s, wasn't it? Was it the 90s?
No, it wasn't. It was the noughties.
The noughties. It was, you know.
2000, 2001.
Yeah, that's All Saints era. These had a little skirt. They had a little skirt on the trousers at the front.
I wasn't looking at the skirt.
No, you were coming up those stairs
from behind.
I love that blue fleece. Because that was inappropriate. I said don't be inappropriate.
I just waved my hands like that. It's not inappropriate.
It is inappropriate. I'm very sorry. I did tell him not to be inappropriate before we started. What was the question? Oh, what degree did I do? I did business. I did business studies.
So relevant to what you do now?
Yeah, completely relevant. Not at all. I did business administration and human resource management, basically, which I don't use at all. Really now?
No, it'd come in handy for me.
Maybe organisational behaviour I might use a bit. Someone else asked about what I did at university, and what is your degree in? This is Emily. And how did you get into museum work? Now that's weird how I got into working in a museum. And it's because I worked in housing for the early part of my, well, I don't know if you'd call it a career, working life. And I worked for a housing trust, and then I moved on to work for a homelessness organisation where I was for nearly a decade before I was made redundant. So I left there, and I went and took a temporary contract with a housing association really local to here, which was awful. I hated that job.
You didn't like that one,
I really hated it. I enjoyed the first part of it where I was helping people to understand the new benefit changes. It was the bedroom tax. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, the government made some changes. It wasn't called the bedroom tax, but that's the nickname for it. So I was helping people negotiate that. But then I got another job within the same organisation, which I hated. And so I was looking for another job, and I got a job working for the NHS as PA to the IT director at a hospital in South London. And it was via there that I found my job at the museum, which is based on site at a hospital. And a few people have actually asked what the museum it is, and I don't generally say that when I'm on the podcast because it feels a bit too mixing personal life with podcast life, which I know is the same thing. Yes. Just got to be careful. But yeah, the museum I work in is based on an NHS hospital site. Does that answer the question, or have I just rambled on?
Yeah.
Oh, I keep coughing. Do you think it's COVID?
It's too late for me if it is.
It's not persistent.
You are. Debbie's question.
Oh yes, I liked this question. I'm curious about English accents. Here in the States, we can tell if someone is from the South or East, or even from certain states, such as Louisiana. And I know the same is true for the UK. Where did you grow up, and is your accent a reflection of that location? I think you should start with this because you grew up with somewhere where your accent is not a reflection of.
No, so, I mean, I grew up just outside Norwich, which is in Norfolk, which is, we call it the region's East Anglia. So if you're looking at the UK, it's the little bumpy bit that sticks out.
On the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side
above
of the map.
London.
And there is a definite accent from there, a more rural country accent, which I've kind of, having spent most of my life outside of Norfolk, I've grown out of, but I could slip back into it. And
you got to do this. You got to tell people how you used to talk then.
Well, when I first came to London, I used to talk a bit like this. But my accent from Norfolk's never been that strong, so I'm putting on a bit extra than I used to speak. But as I've been in London more and more over years, and now living in Kent, that's kind of gone away, and
yeah,
I talk like this now.
You do slip into it though sometimes,
Yeah,
especially if your mum's been down.
Yeah, my cousins used to, when they used to come visit, go, oh, say bright light, bright light. Things like that.
Yeah, so you definitely come from somewhere where it's got a really strong regional accent.
Yeah.
I'm slightly unusual because I grew up in South London, and I would say my South London accent is stronger now I'm older than it was when I was younger, because my parents were Scottish and they had Scottish accents, so I think it kind of neutralised my accent. So I never spoke with a Scottish accent, but I never spoke with a South London accent particularly. But because we've stayed in sort of North Kent, South London, I think I've got more South London as I've got older. And South London's a bit I don't know. It's like a watered down Cockney.
South London, mate.
South London,
South
mate.
London.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you say
Bit of
South.
geezer.
Yeah, like geezer. Yeah, like that. I don't know why I'm like, yeah.
And we can certainly tell the difference where people are from.
Yeah, definitely.
Even you can tell if someone's from North London, South London, West London, East London. They've got different accents there. But you
and different parts of Scotland. My dad had a different Scottish accent to my mum's Scottish accent.
Yeah.
And actually, different parts of the UK have different dialects even as well. So my mum's family are all in Aberdeen, and they're Doric. They speak Doric, which is a regional dialect spoken in Aberdeen. And I understand it. You can understand it a bit, because my uncle is that's all he speaks.
Yeah, your uncle and your cousin.
Yeah.
Very broad.
So so in the answer to your question, yeah, you can tell where people are from by accents, but I don't think we can hear the difference in American accents, because we definitely know there's a southern accent. You can hear that.
And a New York accent.
And a New York accent we can pick up, and maybe the Boston accent as well.
Yeah.
Only because of Buffy though, because the character I didn't like.
Yeah, come on, you can say her name.
I can't remember what her name is.
Faith.
Faith, yeah, she was from Boston and she had an accent.
Elisha Dushku.
The information that you know.
I'm great in a pub quiz.
You are good in a pub quiz.
I know absolute loads about utter nonsense.
You are very good in a pub quiz, yeah. Yeah, so in answer to your question, yes. What does Dan do with all of his Lego? This is Christy. With 2 boys who are obsessed with Lego, I know they take up a lot of space. Does he assemble them and then Hulk smash them and put them away?
Well, no, I don't Hulk smash them because that might break the Lego, and that's just inherently something I'm not capable of doing. I actually do need to do that. But no, I'll build my sets and I'll have them out for maybe about a week, 2 weeks, a little bit longer if I can get away with it before somebody tells me I need to put them away because they're gathering dust and getting in the way.
I can show them your bedside table if you like.
No, it's fine. They're my Star Wars brickheads, that's fine. But no, and then what I do is, because, we don't have an awful lot of space and because we don't want everything out everywhere, I'll get like a plastic container box. I'll deassemble all the Lego carefully, put them in a box which I label with which set it is, put it there with the instructions and store it either under my side of the bed, which is full of Lego, or there's an alcove in Lilia's bedroom, or the rest of the Lego is. Yeah,
but when we had the loft extension built, which is Lilia's room, there was a sort of awkward little area that created an alcove, but it's actually quite handy. It's a really good storage area, and because the girls love Lego, especially Lilia, we've got loads of sets, so when they're not using them or building them, it all goes into a box with the instructions, so whenever they want to build them again, or as I say, if we want to sell them, but then Dan says
no, never.
So, but I think he's envisaging
for the grandchildren.
Yes, yeah. So it's all put away, and then you do take it out and build it again.
Yeah, like Lilia got the big Hogwarts sets 3 or 4, 5 years ago, didn't she? And she wouldn't let me touch it at all when she built it the first time. So during lockdown actually, last summer, when she was distracted with other stuff, I got it back out and rebuilt it.
It wasn't last summer; it was springtime.
Was it spring? Oh God, was it really spring?
Lockdown.
I know. I thought that was last year. I didn't forget it was this year still.
Yeah. So then you put it all away again, and it's gone.
Yeah.
It is a bit annoying.
All 6,500 pieces of it.
And constantly treading on Lego.
No, she's not.
Vida asked, do you think that any of your girls will want to get into crafts like you are? Is your mum into it like you? So, yes, Lilia doesn't like anything to do with knitting or crochet or fibre, but she loves painting and drawing, and she's really got into that in the last year, really. And it's really good. She chose to do drama rather than art or music as a GCSE, and I'm glad that she did, because I think if she'd done art it would have put her off.
Yeah.
So she's really managed to develop her own style of painting, and she really does have her own style, doesn't she?
She does.
She's very clever. And Phoebe loves drawing as well. She's a really good drawer, but she also can knit, and she's more interested in it, although loses like interest quite quickly.
Yeah.
But she can knit, and she does enjoy it, and she pays attention to what I'm doing. But they both love receiving handmade things, don't they? They're very knit worthy and crochet worthy. My mum's a knitter.
Yeah.
Her mum wasn't. Her grandmother was. It does run in the family. Scottish.
Yeah. My mum knits.
Your mum knits, but she's got into that since she retired, hasn't she?
Yeah.
She's
she did it
quite good
years
at
ago.
knitting, actually. She knit the girls' jumpers.
Like a fleecy hoodie thing.
Yeah.
I want to learn to knit.
Yeah,
In fact,
he
I
does.
asked for it as one of my New Year resolutions to ask Ali to teach me how to knit socks. I'm still waiting patiently.
Are you looking at your watch to check what month it is? Or
Yeah,
that's it. It's now 5:30 November.
Yeah. Actually, I think you'll find it's 1/4 December.
Yeah, but I mean, there were some, extenuating circumstances that made that a bit tricky this year.
Global schmobal pandemic.
Well, we'll look out some yarn and some needles, which means by the next podcast we'll be divorced. Yeah, I don't know. I think Phoebe will probably get into it, but you never know. I didn't like knitting and crochet when I was little. My mum taught me to knit, but I would never have thought of getting into it until it was when I was commuting. I taught myself to crochet, something to do.
And when you were unwell, you were doing it at home.
Yeah,
after your operation.
I started off with mosaics when I was at home a lot because I was always ill or recovering or something like that. But you can't. It's not very portable, mosaics.
No.
And also when you've got a toddler, it's not very safe to have shards of glass flying about. So I switched to crochet because my sister was crocheting a blanket and I was like, what's that you're doing? And then she told me and I taught myself from a book. Yeah, you look like you were just drifting off then, like, oh, here she goes. Didn't come on to talk about this. Right.
To be fair, I was actually thinking about what beer I'm going to put in the fridge for later.
There's Strictly tonight. Yeah, gotta have a beer at Strictly. Ellen and 37 Good Vibes asked why all the lobsters.
Well, that's easy. When we were on honeymoon, we were in the Maldives.
Yeah, so we got married in November 2003.
Well done. She never normally remembers what date.
The 29th.
And you only remember that because Phoebe's birthday is the day after.
But also somebody else asked, but I can't. It's not on this list. But somebody asked somewhere, must have been in the comments, about why we got married in November because I think she'd got married in December and she very rarely meets anyone that gets married in the winter.
Well, that's because we wanted a winter wedding because you hate the summer.
I hate the summer.
And we wanted to have... We couldn't get December, could we? This is the nearest we could get to December because we then didn't have to... One of the things that you didn't have to worry about, the weather. Because in November, December, we knew the weather was going to be probably awful, so what's the point in worrying about it? And it turned out to be really nice. It was wintry and warm and just yummy, wasn't it?
It wasn't warm, it was...
No, I meant the wedding, the feeling of the weather.
Oh, the feeling of it, yeah.
The weather was horrible.
Yeah, the weather was absolutely horrible, but we knew it would be horrible, so we didn't have to worry about whether it would be horrible. And that is... So A, I don't like hot weather. I didn't want to get married when it's hot. And B, I didn't want to have to worry about it. And it really worked.
It did really work.
Yeah, and it meant we could have a lovely wintry theme.
You had a pair of white sparkly wellies to walk from where you got ready where you got married.
I got wellies.
I made them for you. Not the wellies, I sprayed them.
Yeah, we sprayed them in the garden during the summer, didn't we?
Yeah.
They were sparkly and it meant we went to the Maldives on honeymoon in the first 2 weeks of December. We were like basking on a beach while the rest of the UK was in the drizzle and the rain. And then it was really, really it just worked really well getting married then, didn't it?
It did, yeah, but then the lobster thing.
Oh yeah.
Getting back to the original question.
Lobster.
Was because there was one day
it rained.
It just rained for about an hour, didn't it?
A whole hour! It was just awful.
But when it rains in the Maldives, it really rains. It's not like, it's a bit drizzle, let's go outside. It was just...
It wasn't just now, it was the whole afternoon, wasn't it?
We
were on honeymoon and we had nothing else to do other than to go back to our honeymoon hut and do what?
Well, we turned on the telly and we had the Discovery Channel was on and there was a programme about lobsters and they were all marching across the bottom of the sea the way that they do, all like that. And it then sort of said that lobsters mate and they mate for life, and from that point to this, lobsters
well, it was that they mate for life, but also it was the overriding thing I remember from that programme is when they have a fight and they go backwards from each other like this in the water. Like,
that was funny.
Like to take a run up at each other, and yeah. So we watched this whole documentary about lobsters, and it just became our thing, didn't it? Like it just slowly became a thing about lobsters.
Yeah.
Before that, we really liked monkeys.
We did like monkeys. At one point, I think we had
got a
about
travelling-
30 or 40 toy monkeys.
So I bring in Monkey and Monica.
Yeah,
So-
but they're not talking.
No. Okay. So before this, we had Monkey and Monica, and Monkey has been all over the world with us.
He's been to New York.
He's been to New York. He's been to Spain, France.
He came on our honeymoon with us. So did Monica.
Monica's his
They were at our wedding.
sister. They had their own outfits for our wedding, didn't they?
Yep.
They're in our wedding video.
Yeah.
They're actually on the cover of our wedding video. There are 2 monkeys.
Yeah.
Which I now feel represent the girls.
I adopted you a monkey as a wedding present.
You did. So this is Monkey and Monica. And they have literally been, especially Monkey, all over the world with us. I've got pictures of him in Scotland in a kilt.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can find them. And if I can find them, I'll put them on the screen.
A kilt and a gilet.
yeah. Very Balmoral.
I think, to be fair, that day we drove past Balmoral, because that's the day we drove up in the Highlands with your uncle and aunt.
Yeah, I was really hungover that day.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, my uncle keeps filling your glass. I mean, I couldn't do that now.
That's the holiday I discovered my love of whiskey.
Yeah.
I hadn't drunk whiskey before then.
Anyway, we went off on a tangent there.
We did.
Right. Patricia, what kind of knitting needles do you use? And where do you buy them? Okay, so I generally use Knit Pro because they're readily available here in the UK. I think you say you're in Canada, but I think they're available all over. But I think they might be called Knitter's Pride everywhere else. I don't know. I don't know why I'm looking at you. And I get them on eBay every time. I get them on eBay, and it tends to be from either Collie Crafts or I can't remember the name of the other store. But I just buy them on eBay whenever I need them. I don't have an interchangeable set, and I would love that. Maybe for my birthday, for example, an interchangeable needle set that's in my wish list on Amazon.
Noted.
Yeah, nice and easy to answer. Oh, what is your style of knitting, and why do you prefer that style? Okay, I knit continental. So this is, oh no, you weren't in the room earlier. I was watching the Bakery Bears with Phoebe, and they were talking about the difference. So I knit continental, and that is because I was originally a crocheter, and when I crochet, I hold the yarn in my left hand and you grab it with the hook. So it made sense for me when I started knitting to hold the yarn in my left hand and grab it with the needle, and I can purl and knit almost interchangeably without thinking about it now. When I first started purling, and I think this is the same for everyone that starts knitting, you'll find this when I teach you. Eventually. It can be a bit troublesome, but I honestly don't find it a problem at all anymore. And English style is where you hold the yarn in your right hand and then you kind of throw it. That's how my mum knits. But I can't even fathom how to do that. I mean, I've tried, and it just does not compute. How do you... You're going to laugh at this question. How do you manage to stay so calm and cheerful whenever you are faced with challenges? It's because when you see me on vlogs, so let's refer back to the lockdown vlogs, for example.
Yes.
So I produced vlogs for almost 3 months back in lockdown, during which it was a very stressful time. Dan was going through a redundancy process, which was very worrying, very stressful.
And it was horrible.
And it was nasty, wasn't it? It was horrible.
Yes.
There were situations where we were wondering if certain people were actually even human.
Yeah.
And at the same time, obviously, my work was in disarray. My job basically just completely changed overnight. I went from booking in school visiting groups to doing everything to do with the social media. Yeah, so it was quite good that I'd learned what I'd learned doing this channel. And then the girls were homeschooling and they had their own pressures with that, and then there was the fear of the virus and nobody knew what was happening or how long it would last, and it was weird. And we produced these videos, but each of those videos were 20 minutes?
Yeah, and they're all very genuine.
They are. Yeah.
You know, we as a family, we're quite positive and we manage stress relatively well, but like everyone else, we have our moments. You know, you have your tantrums, your tears, your grumps, and that's just me before 10 o'clock in the morning, to be quite fair. But no, you know,
we all handle it differently, don't we? But I think when we're making the vlogs, it's very genuine, it's very honest, and it's what's happening. But I think also I'm not going to come on and say, I might say, you know, we're all really stressed, but I'm not going to be in tears. But I might have been in tears 20 minutes before.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or we might have had a chat where I'm like, oh my God, I'm really worried about this, and Dan's talked me down from that. Or, you know,
or vice versa when we're talking about jobs and redundancy and stuff. But
we just work through it, don't we?
But actually, I found doing the vlogs, you know, a kind of release in a way to kind of just.
No, we were connecting with everyone who was going through the same, because everyone was going through it. There wasn't a single person in the world that wasn't affected, and even now, like doing Vlogtober and things that are happening now, there's nobody that isn't affected or going through the same thing. And to have a connection with people all over the world makes you feel more cheerful. That's why I like watching vlogs. Yeah,
and together.
And also, I think with the girls, you've got to hold it together, haven't you? Yeah,
we got, you know, if we fell to pieces as individuals, you know, that have children, then that wouldn't be good for them. So you gotta keep it together as much as you can for their sakes, you know.
And I think as well, like keeping the vlogs is a bit like a diary. So, and I keep a daily diary. It's like a 1 line a day diary, 5 years. So, and I've done it before, and from doing it before, I learned, like, as you go through it, when you look back at where you were a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, sometimes it's hard to believe how much life has changed beyond recognition. So I think just got to keep in mind, don't we, that wherever we are now, this time next year, we won't be.
Yeah.
So, and you've got no choice anyway, because wherever you are now, you will still be here this time next year. So you might as well just try and
make the most of it.
Well, you know, try and keep your head above water, even when it's really hard. But also, it's only a 20-minute vlog, and there's a lot of time in the day that you don't see, where there is stomping and tantrums and arguing and shouting and arguing about who's the best and.
But also, you know, whilst it's tough for us, if you ever did the hoovering, whilst it's tough for us, there's people out there who've got it a lot tougher than us. So, you know, whilst we're finding our situation difficult, it's not as good as some people's, but it's better than others, and you just have to be mindful of that and just get on with it. And you know. But
also, it's like my friend said to me when we were chatting about it and WhatsApp, knowing that people are worse off doesn't make me feel any better that someone else is feeling
absolutely not. No.
Feeling more miserable. That doesn't make me feel better.
But it depends on who it is.
Well, that's very true.
I know a few people, but their misery makes me very happy.
Right, moving on. I've kind of touched on this. Have you always been creative and crafty? This is Janice. Did you inherit it from someone in your family? Yes, yes. I've always been obsessed with anything to do with creating and crafting, diary making, drawing, painting, anything. The sort of sewing and fibre crafts came later. Oh, yeah, clay modelling. That's what I used to do when I was, say, Phoebe's age, make things out of clay. Still love doing that now. Anything and everything I've tried, and I love it all.
I don't have the patience for it.
Henna. I'm just trying to think. When we first moved in together,
you hennaed your tummy when you were pregnant with Lillia.
My tummy. I was pregnant. I was a face painter for a couple of years. What else? Mosaics I absolutely loved. I did a few courses in that.
We've got a few vases and pots around the house you made out of clay.
Out of ceramics, and so it's just a big part of who I am, and I love to do it. It's my hobby. It's what I do. And my grandfather was an artist and
a poet.
And I'm not very good with words, I would say, but he was an artist, so I definitely get it from him.
Yeah.
My dad was quite artistic.
Yes, he was. He liked whittling.
He was good at whittling things, wasn't he? Yeah, but he never really did much with it. He was good with wood.
He liked woodwork, yeah.
Yeah. This is a difficult one. This is Jane. What would your perfect day be like if you could do whatever you wanted and COVID wasn't a thing?
Who is answering? I can answer for you very easily. Annie's perfect day would involve a walk along the beach, because she loves being near the sea, with nobody else around. She might tolerate me being there, but probably not. And then being able to sit down and either paint the scene, sit down with some knitting, and knit and just enjoy the peacefulness and space of being by the sea in a nice kind of warm but not hot day.
Yeah, I like being alone, but I also like being with my family. But I like being by the sea because I feel like I can, like my head can breathe.
Yeah. Well, you're not sucking in other people's energy, and you can just be.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's
know.
blue space, and but I also it's difficult sometimes because it's like I love being alone, which makes you sound really mean. But I do love being with my family as well. But being with my family when no demands are being made, like not being with my family in the way that I've just sat down to have a wee and someone sticks their head round the door to ask if they can have a biscuit.
Well, you keep them so locked up, I never know if I'm allowed one or not. Not me, the kids.
But you know what I mean. Like maybe chilled out in front of a fire. Like the other day when we were just playing that pairs game.
Yeah.
That was lovely. It was just a nice chilled afternoon with no one asking me for something.
I have no idea what my perfect day would be.
I think you would probably like. Do you know what you always say that you'd like to go for a beer at lunchtime? Because I can't do that. That's my worst idea of something to do at lunchtime.
Yeah, but I'd like to just sit down. Maybe it would be a case of just sitting down, watching all the Star Wars films back to back.
That would take a week, not a day.
I know, but just having Star Wars in the background and sitting down with a new set or an old set of Lego and sitting there and just having to do that. But have you guys
bring you things?
Not bring you things. Being involved, because the girls. Lillia doesn't want to help me rebuild things. Phoebe just, I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know what my perfect day would be. Going down the pub for a couple of beers at lunchtime would be great, but that's only a couple of hours.
I think your perfect day would definitely involve films,
Lego,
and a beer.
And food.
But it definitely wouldn't involve going for a walk somewhere or anything like that.
Oh yeah, but some of my favourite days are when we spent days in London, like the day we went to see the Paul Simon at the Royal Albert Hall, and we spent the day walking around. We went to North London to go to a crochet shop, knitting shop, yarn shop. Then we went back to Covent Garden. We had a nice lunch, and then we mooched around and walked around Hyde Park for a bit by the museum, and just that was really nice.
Yeah, that was nice. London's nice when you can do it at your own leisure.
Yeah.
Isn't it? When you're having to race about, it's not so nice.
No.
I do miss doing things pre-COVID, though.
Yeah.
I have to say, because I find it very... If you've watched any amount of our videos, you'll know how much we enjoy having days out to like local castles or National Trust properties.
Yeah, that's another day out I'd enjoy, just going somewhere new and exploring it.
Yeah.
Like we've never taken the kids to Windsor, not Windsor Castle. What's the one in the middle of London?
Tower of London.
There, that place. Never been there. I've never been to Windsor Castle and Great Windsor Park. I'd love to do that.
No, exactly. It's things like that we just can't do at the moment, or not do and fully enjoy. So, yeah, I do miss it. But those days will come again. Hopefully. Okay. Why don't we hear... Oh, this is 2 questions. Vida asked, why don't we hear about Dan's side of the family? And Francis said, does Dan still have family other than you and the girls?
I do have family. My dad died eight years ago.
Yeah, we worked this out last night.
Yeah, because it's the same year you had your operation.
Yeah.
My dad died 8 years ago. He died of cancer. But my mum's still around and I have a brother. But...
They're in Norfolk.
They're up in Norfolk. It's proximity, so we see my mum, but we haven't seen her for almost a year now, have we? Because of COVID.
It's geography basically. Why you don't? I mean, you probably have seen vlogs and videos in the past where Dan's mum's been here, but obviously I don't film them because I haven't asked permission to do that. I don't think they know that I even have a channel. I
don't think my mum would understand.
No, I don't think she would. Yeah. So but they live their life in Norfolk, and we just can't see them at the moment. We're not allowed to travel. They haven't felt comfortable coming down here, have they, and travelling?
No.
Yeah, because his mum's quite wary. But yeah, they're around. They're just geographically further away, and my mum only lives up the road. So
yeah, your mum's 8-minute drive away.
Yeah,
So.
and my mum does know I do this, but doesn't understand. Have you always lived in this? This is Evelyn, lovely Evelyn. She leaves lots of comments. She's so nice. All these people who've asked questions are very, very lovely. Have you always lived in the same area in Kent? So,
well, no, I haven't.
No, you haven't. I was born here, actually, and I would never have thought in a million years that I'd end up living here. But yeah, I was born here, and then because my parents moved down a few years, maybe 5 years before I was born, I think.
Yeah.
From Scotland, because this is where the work was. It meant they could commute into London, and a lot of their friends moved down at the same time. So there's actually a lot of people who around this area who I grew up with because their parents were from Scotland. It's like a clan that's moved down here from Scotland, and but I moved away to go to university. I moved away and lived in East London, which is where we had our first flat. And then after Lillia was born, we decided to move back here to be nearer to my mum.
Yeah.
And also because we could still easily commute into London from here, which is what we did. So we lived with my mum for a bit whilst we saved up a bit of money and found our first house, which is just up the road.
Which is 100 yards that way.
Yeah. And then when we were able to, we moved to a slightly bigger house down the road. We literally walked some of the stuff out of one house and into the other one.
And the people that left this house had the same removal company as us. So when it got to the end and it was empty in our garden, the people that had emptied this house came to our house and walked it out the garden, across the road, through the alleyway and into this garden.
Yeah, it was all worked very well. Yeah, but before here we lived with my mum. Before that we lived with my mum, and before that we lived in Wanstead in East London. Yeah, right on the edge of Wanstead Flats. Oh, this was I read this one out to you earlier, didn't I? Christina, how did you discover you're an empath, and what do you do to decompress? I'm guessing baths are part of that for you, as water, particularly salt water, will help diffuse that excess energy that's not ours. So, I can't remember who suggested it to me, but I think it was my friend Lorraine, otherwise known as Consciously Crochet on Instagram, and I think she's Consciously Crochet on Ravelry. She changed her name. She lives in Cyprus, and we became friends through podcasting a few years ago, and we've remained in touch. She's a really, really lovely human being, and I'm sure it was her that put me on to the term empath, and I looked it up and was like, oh my goodness, it's a thing, because I absorb everything. It's exhausting on many different levels and in many different ways, and it's probably unique to everyone how it happens, but I get exhausted being around other people because I don't know, just pick up on energies. And I've always been like it.
You have?
Yeah.
You're like an emotional sponge.
Yeah, I am a sponge. And I find it very difficult, and I don't like it, and I wish I wasn't like that. Yeah. I really, really genuinely do wish I wasn't like that, because it's an extremely difficult thing to live with. And I think baths sometimes I get to a point where I have to have a bath. Mm-hmm. I have to have a bath, Dan. Can you just take care of dinner? I have to go and have a bath. And I'll be in there for an hour and a half.
At least.
Yeah, at least. And it has to be hot as well, really, really hot. And I do use Epsom salts and things that contain salts from Lush, and it is a way to decompress. But that's the only way I've worked out, that and just trying to be alone, which just doesn't happen at the moment. So
it's funny because sometimes when you're feeling like that, and I can tell you're feeling like that, it's like you've got this invisible bubble around you, and I can sometimes just go on the sofa. Can I talk to you for a minute? I know you've had a tough day, but I need to talk to you. Can I come in, please?
Hissing. I can't. Yeah, when I get home, because you're different. When you used to commute, Dan would use his commute to read a book on the way home, and that would be enough for him to transition. But I can't do that. I have to get in the house and just for nobody to talk to me, which never happens because there's always something happening the moment you walk in the door. But I find that very, very, very difficult. I'm not sure if I answered that terribly well. No.
You see, I'm the opposite. I'm not an empath to suck it in things badly. I feed off other people's energy.
Energy vampire! Colin Robinson!
No, but I do. do. That kind of atmosphere of being around other people. When you're at work and things going well, I enjoy that.
You like other people.
I get energy from that.
Yeah, I find it very, very difficult.
It's good we balance each other out.
We do. Yeah, I'm miserable and hate other people, and you're jolly like Santa. Oh, that was the last question.
Was that the last question?
That was the last question.
Oh.
We are done.
I can go and watch the rugby now.
Is the rugby up? No, you can't because everyone's doing Zoom in the front room.
I'll watch it on my phone.
We've come to the end, and I'm not sure we answered any of them very well. I've got that
I
feeling.
thought we were marvellous.
I've got that feeling that I always get at the end of a podcast where I look back and just think, what have I just talked about for the last hour? What have I just dribbled on about? And then I come to edit it and I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. But this might not be the case for this. So that's our Q&A. Thank you to everyone, all you lovely people that took the time to send in a question for us to answer. It was quite fun.
It was quite fun.
Felt a bit like marriage counselling, didn't it?
Yes.
Do you feel stronger for it?
I've never felt better or more secure in my marriage and masculinity than I do right now.
You were like the politician then. Masculinity. Don't go to work.
Also, Phoebe wanted to join us, didn't she?
Yes, Phoebe did want to join us. She thought it was mightily unfair that we were doing a Q&A and she wasn't. Yeah, so... But that would have been very chaotic.
That would have been.
Yeah. I've got a headache now. All this thinking. I think I need some water. Right. Thank you very much for watching this nonsense. And we will see you, I will see you on the next podcast.
I'll be lurking somewhere.
Hoovering.
Hoovering, yeah.
Bye.